This video will give you everything you need to know about the Shadow Faedrake, which I think is a powerful pet, but is probably not the #1 priority for most players that are interested in having powerful mages. So stick around in this video for the things you need to know about this single target damage pet and where it's strong and where it's not so strong. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And when the Shadow Faedrake released, I was hyped. I'm still hyped about this pet because it's intended to be used with the new mages that are available in Season T1. And these are single target damage mages. Now I'll talk more about them in just a minute, but anytime you look at a pet, you need to understand what does the talent skill of the pet do. And if you don't have the talent skill on the pet, keep catching until you have the talent skill and only build it then. But the talent skill on a Shadow Faedrake is called Shadow Hunter. It deals damage to the target legion and inflicts the captive debuff. The captive debuff makes it so that this legion only does more damage to the target for a 2-second window. So for me, with really high intelligence and nearly max level, I'm 54, we're looking at about 110. This will probably go up to 115, maybe 120 damage at max level, and probably around 6% damage bonus, which is pretty cool. Now, with that said, if we just compare to, say, a Sapphire Faedrake, well, the Sapphire Faedrake actually does more damage, and it does damage to more targets. So the Sapphire Faedrake does way more damage in most open field situations. Now, don't mind the build on this pet. I haven't actually put the skills on it yet. I covered the Sapphire Faedrake in an entirely separate video. But for most open fielders, the Sapphire Faedrake is just better. I mean, pretty much anytime you're going to be smashing multiple targets in the field, you'd rather have a Sapphire. And when are you not smashing multiple targets? Well, two situations. And these are the two situations where the Shadow Faedrake actually does excel. The first situation in fielding is if you are hitting an infantry unit that is charged up and not near anyone else. Often infantry will charge on their own into your front line. And if you are busting that tank, yes, the single target focus here and enhancing your hero skill damage that will be dealt to that target, I mean, that's a good thing, okay? That's a good thing. I guess I shouldn't say your hero skill damage. It's just your legion's damage to that target, all right? Now, the other situation where this is really good is if you are garrisoning something with the new mages. So let's just talk about the new mages. And I would say very obviously, this is where the new pet was meant to go. Why is that? This new pet is meant for Bertrand and Tohar. So Bertrand does single target damage. Obviously, the Shadow Faedrake is enhancing your ability to do that single target damage and get more of it, right? You enhance the damage the target is taking. Tohar does single target damage. Once again, enhancing the damage the target taking is a win, okay? So that's what this is meant for, in my estimation. Tank busting and also going in and garrisoning. Now, am I saying the Shadow Faedrake would be bad in the field? No, not at all. I think the Shadow Faedrake will be fine. I also think Bertrand and Tohar will be fine. But I generally think that for most players, area of effect damage is where it's at. And in that context, and money where my mouth is, this season I'm leveling up Lilia. This season I'm leveling up Velen. I'm going to put them together. And I don't even plan to use the new mages. Not right away. Will I use them ever? I think I will. I think it is likely that I will. But in this season, I'll work on them over time, man. I got plenty of other things in my lineup that work great, so I'm going to stick with those things for now. But if you do work on a Shadow Faedrake, or if you're just leveling it passively, which is what I'm doing now, once you're ready to start to regenerate and put skills onto the thing, what should you do? And this pet is a curious one. Now, I do need to give a shout out, as always, to the Professor, who is a partner in crime on brainstorming the functionality of some of these pets and where they are strong and where they are weak. The build that I've put together for the Shadow Faedrake moves in on what I like to call a hero build. So as I've described pets, I've started to come up with this naming, and other people are also using it now, which I'm glad to hear that. But you've got basically hero builds and pet builds. A hero-based build is all in on enhancing what your hero does. A pet-based build is all in on enhancing what your pet does. And weirdly, because this skill is like a blend of doing hero things and pet things, I feel like you actually want to move in on a hero build with this pet. So we'll talk about what those skills are, but I'm going to put the full build on screen now for you to review. As we go through this video, it'll still be on screen so you can see it, and I'll justify some of these choices. So your starting point over here is Shadow Hunter, which is intelligence, and we've got this debuff. Well, if you want to have the debuff be reapplied, what you can do is get follow-up. Follow-up has a 40% chance to cast the skill again, which is pretty sweet. And the damage is a percentage based off of how high your intelligence is. So for me, once I'm max level, I'll probably have 50% of the damage I would normally get. Well, the damage is not really why I'm here, though. I'm really just here to reapply the debuff, which I have confirmed with support and looked in logs, and it does do that. So if you like this debuff for 2 seconds, you probably would like it for 4 seconds. And this is where follow-up is like just a slam dunk, extremely good choice. Okay, extremely good choice. Now from here, you actually have 2 options. And by the way, follow-up to apply that debuff again, if you're trying to save currency, could even be 1 star. Okay, you'll do less damage, but this ability is about the debuff, not about the damage really. Like the damage is fine, but you know, even at 0 stars, you do get a full strength debuff reapplied. So that's what you need to know. Damage, healing, shield effect is this percentage. Gosh, now I have myself questioning, and I really want to look in the log to confirm that both the debuff is full strength, but the damage is decreased. I'm quite confident that's what it is, but I'll update the pinned comment if that's not the case, all right? So let's go to the next part of the build here, which is enhancing your damage. Now that you have 2 skills that are doing damage, we'd like to make it so we're doing more damage. And weirdly enough, I think your 2 best options are pretty straightforward, but one is going to be Forceful Shadow Hunter. This is going to give you a percentage-based damage boost for your Shadow Hunter ability. Now, this is a little bit weird because this is enhancing technically 2 skills. Like it's only 1, but if you took follow-up, remember your follow-up damage is based off of your talent skill damage. You see the weirdness here? So this skill enhancing your talent skill is actually double value because it's going to make it so that not only will your Shadow Hunter do more damage, but your follow-up will do more damage as well. And what's weird about Forceful Shadow Hunter, and I was looking at this, is that normally I would say it's not something I'm interested in, because remember, the damage of this is actually less than what you can get on other magic pets like over here. It's less than what you can get on other magic pets, like this is a bad example, but let me find a Thunder Lizard, right? It's less than the magic damage these pets are dealing. But what's interesting is this skill is actually 50% better than other skills that are enhancing damage. Let me show you what I mean. If you want to see what the base ability is doing without being influenced by the attributes of your pet, you go over here into the store. Shadow Hunter is a 12% damage boost. Usually when you get a damage boost to an ability, see 8% is what you would expect. Forceful Ravage, 8% base is what you would expect. Forceful Infection, 8% is what you would expect. So Forceful Shadow Hunter is actually 50% better than most of your things that are enhancing your damage, which is, again, kind of unusual. The next skill that I would take is probably going to be, and I should go over here, something that you need to go and catch, and I should show this actually on the Shadow Faedrake, but when you go and catch it, it's a 1-star skill, Resonance. Resonance will increase your magic skill damage dealt by 11% for me. With this particular pet, it's based on your spirit. Now, the thing I don't know about how this works, and maybe I'll update my pinned comment, is I don't know the interaction between resonance and also follow-up and your talent skill. I don't know if this enhances your talent skill by 12%, and does it then also enhance? I think it does. Does it also enhance your follow-up damage? So you get like a double dip and a really nice multiplier? I'm not sure, but I still think you want to take the extra damage. And now we get into the weird part of the build. This gets weird because this pet is all about doing more damage, and a part of how you do that is with your hero skill damage. So I might be crazy for thinking this, but unironically with this pet, I think you want Light's Guidance, increasing your crit rate when you're doing hero skill damage. I mean, look, you have many things that are boosting your hero skill damage on Bertrand and Tohar, so getting crits seems really good, right? This to me is not something I normally take, but like I said, this pet is a weird blend of like enhancing your hero and enhancing your pet. The next skill that I think we go to take, if you're really serious about this pet, is you commit the 3-star end of season skill, and that is Enduring Shadow Hunter. So for every 75 spirit, you get an extra 1 second duration of this debuff. Ooh, well, now we've got an interesting situation, don't we? So this means if you had 75 spirit, this becomes a 3-second debuff. If you had 150 spirit on your pet, it becomes a 4-second debuff. If you have 225 spirit on your pet, it becomes a 5-second debuff. And if you have over 300 spirit, which is actually pretty achievable, I mean, it's not easy, but it's achievable, you get an extra 4 seconds on the debuff. Well, now you can do some pretty funky things. Now we're looking at a 6-second debuff, increasing the damage taken by the target. You better believe that your active skills should trigger at some point while this debuff is active, especially if you have follow-up. Because follow-up applies the debuff all over again, and I talked to support, and they said that it should, in the interaction I just described, increase the duration of the debuff by the full amount when follow-up triggers. In other words, if you had the extra 4 seconds of duration on this, what would happen is you would have this skill activate, it would apply the captive debuff. If follow-up triggers, it would apply yet another 6 seconds of the debuff. So you get a grand total of 8 seconds of debuff in that combination where you have Shadow Hunter and a 4-second, which is the max you can get, Enduring Shadow Hunter enhancement. So that is kind of an interesting combo. Now from here, what do you want to do? Well, I mean, if we're committing 3-star skills, let's go nuts. If you've got 7 skill slots and all these 3-star skills, super follow-up is really good. You can get almost a 100% chance that your follow-up is going to trigger. That's pretty good because, yeah, the damage is cool, but you're really here for the debuff. And if you're here for the debuff, I mean, extending the duration seems pretty decent. Now, we're only talking about a 2-second duration. So like, this is good, but it's not insane, right? It's not like it was 6 seconds and it gives you another 6 seconds for a total of 12. It's just a 2-second enhancement. So like, is super follow-up really worth it? Debatable, right? You could debate that as an end of season reward, you're better off just spreading the love around to other pets. Similarly, if we're going nuts, you could go for Outbursts of Rage. Faster skill cycles are pretty much always good. I will point out, however, that this is yet another pet where, like, it's not really an agility pet, although it has moderate agility attributes. So, like, you could do it. I don't think it'd be terrible, but I also feel like maybe you spread the love around to some other pets, right? Maybe. It is good here. It's not. I don't think it would be bad. But this brings us to several other skill options, and I want to start with the ones that we did not include. And the ones that we did not include, you might find a little bit unexpected. The first is Ruthless Follow-Up, which increases the crit rate of your follow-up. I mean, look, I love that your follow-up is going to do nice damage, but at the end of the day, like, you're not there for follow-up crits. You're there for just follow-up reapplying the debuff. So I didn't really feel like that's where you were ideally shooting. I also felt like Magic Fortune is not it either. Increasing your crit rate is cool, but you're not here for the damage. Like, a pet that cares about the damage is the Sapphire Faedrake, because it's got literally more than double the damage of this pet. That's where you want Magic Fortune. That's where you want Ruthless Follow-Up, right? Similarly, if you're not taking those, you should not be taking Elemental Harmony. You're not trying to do crits and crit damage. Like, that whole package of abilities, I don't think are any good here. And I also don't think you can take Bolt from the blue, because although I like the idea of enhancing your hero damage dealt, and yes, increasing your magic attack will do that, remember that you can only have 3 skills of any one attribute. So we've already got 3 skills. We've got the talent skill, we've got follow-up, and we've got Forceful Shadow Hunter. So I don't think that Bolt from the Blue is where it's at. That's also a good reason to exclude Elemental Harmony, by the way. So this is where it gets kind of weird, where it's like, okay, well, Chisgule, if I'm not committing all these 3-star skills, what skills can I even put on here for value? And if you have Strength, you can go for Shield Breaker, which gives you defense penetration. Ignoring enemy defense is pretty good. And ignoring enemy health is pretty good as well. So if you had Agility, you could go and you could get the 1-star ability. I own it, so I'll just filter for that. Right over here, Poison Gland. Not a bad pickup. Okay. You could look at other spirit-based abilities if you only have 2 spirit-based abilities deployed. So like you could get more Legion hit points. I don't generally think that's on plan, but you could do it. You could go Pure Strength, a chance to remove a debuff every second. I mean, if you're garrisoning, I would assume that actually at some point becomes relevant, although this is another ability you have to catch. Both of these are. So like you could start to look at some other spirit-based abilities because this is a high spirit pet, but I don't know. I mean, you could look at enemy attack mitigation if you had the endurance, but this is not a high endurance pet either. So like we start to really reach for some weird stuff. You could go for other luck-based skills like Interruption. You could make it so that you'd make the enemy's pet less effective. That could be pretty good if you're garrisoning potentially. But we've like entered the realm of things that are like cute, but I don't know if they're good for this pet, right? I really can't say for sure if they're good, but they're certainly cute, all right? So now that we've covered all of these different skills and the build that I think you would ultimately put on this thing if you're going to try to garrison or even just bust up some tanks, we need to talk about the attributes. Obviously, there were 2 attributes we cared about the most, and then a third that I kind of care about a little. The attributes I cared about the most are Intelligence and Spirit. And remember, Spirit, if you're going to go for the ability that is an end of season reward, you're very interested in the 4-second breakpoint, which is not easy to get to. The way that you would calculate this, all right, is actually listed over here. It shows you. So it's the base value plus the growth rate times the war pet level minus 1. So the max level is 59. So for this pet, we could do the math real quick. I have 36 plus 4.77 times 59. That puts me at 317 spirit, baby. So we are cruising. I exceed the breakpoint of 4 seconds on this pet. Unfortunately, the luck is a little low here, but luck actually isn't affecting many of the skills that we were trying to take. The only skill that I was genuinely very interested in was this skill that increases your crit chance, Light's Guidance, right? Also, I mentioned the 3-star skill, Super Follow-Up, which like maybe you go for that, right? Increase your follow-up trigger chance. Maybe you go for that. Like, I don't even think it's all that necessary, quite frankly, because at that point, Super Follow-Up is kind of weird. Like you're committing 2 skills to extending the debuff duration by 2 seconds and doing a pretty mid amount of damage to a single target. I don't know. Maybe this is, I mean, if you're garrisoning, it's a different story. Like you kind of just move all in and incremental value is still value and you go for it. But I don't know, man. Kind of nuts, right? And the other skill was Ruthless Follow-Up, the crit rate, which I really don't think that's on plan. So luck is actually not all that important. So number 1, Intelligence, number 2, Spirit, number 3, Luck. And then from there, anything else you get is gravy and could influence which of the other little skills that you might put on there if you were going for like the strength-based one or the agility-based ones, right? That's what you could do. Of course, if you got any other thoughts about the Shadow Faedrake and the skills that you'd want to deploy, definitely let me know down below in the comments. With pets, there's always things that are unexpected. I feel like I got correct a bunch of the things about this pet, but you know, look, like for example, it says legions deal more damage to targets inflicted with captive, but it is actually the legion that cast the ability only that benefits from the captive debuff. So there's always things that are a surprise about pets. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Overall, I'm actually pretty happy with this build that I got over here, but I'm far more interested in a Sapphire. And actually, this here's my latest debate. Ooh. Which of these 2 pets am I taking? Man, I'm not sure. 8 skill slots is awfully tempting, but I do really wish the Spirit had been like, just barely misses the critical break point for double split Pain Bloom. This needed to be like 4.8, and this would have been insane. I would have moved all in. But I feel like this is, generally speaking, for your average fielder, which most of us should be, this is probably the better pet anyways. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. Check the card in the end screen for my Sapphire Faedrake build. Alternatively, if you're looking for information about pets in general and some tips and tricks, I'll have a card in the end screen for that one as well.